Hello and welcome everybody for another edition of the Mayor's Report. I am Brian Curran. I'm the Limerick Mayor. I have today with us Assemblyman Bob Barra. How are you, Assemblyman?
Good to be with you, Mayor.
Thank you very
Great.
much for being with us today. I invited Assemblyman Barra to come down and be our guest here today just to speak to the residents about some of the projects that have actually happened here in Limerick in the last 18 months with primarily state funding that was secured through both his office and Senator Skelos' office. So I thought it was really important to bring you on down. Actually, let's talk about, see some of these projects and maybe talk about some of the projects that are coming down the pike in the near future.
Sounds good.
So just so everybody knows, Assemblyman Barra, you've been representing Limerick for how many years?
In the Assembly, 8 years now.
Eight years. And I got to tell you, I've only been in office for a year and a half, but you've helped me tremendously. And all of the projects that you've done, helped us secure have come out great. And as you can tell, we're actually at Larson Park, which is at the corner of Remsen Avenue and Peninsula Boulevard here in Limerick. And we have just recently reconstructed this park. And for everybody at home, this park had fallen into disrepair in the last couple of years. The fence was broken, the equipment was outdated, the pathway was cracked and dangerous. And we had approached Assemblyman Barra for about possibly helping us out with funding to actually reconstruct this park. And he came through like he always does. This park came out beautiful. It was done exclusively by the DPW. We installed new pathway, new equipment for the kids all throughout the park, new fencing, a new entranceway, new lighting, new benches. And Assemblyman Barra, I know, again, you were so helpful through the whole process, but why don't you tell us a little bit about the park and the funding that you actually helped us get?
Well, it was a park that was kind of the best kept secret in Limerick. I mean, people would drive by it here on Peninsula Boulevard and not even know there was a park here. And it's really deceiving. You know, if you look way deep in the back, it's much bigger than you really think it is once you come in here and walk in it. And now they were kind of run down. It hadn't been worked on in quite a long time. But now, with the influx of the village and with the state working together, you and I, and as a good partnership where different levels of government working together, which is the way it should be.
Absolutely.
We've been able to say, I don't know if there's a better kiddie park right now on the South Shore than this, a bigger and better one. It's just beautiful, and the kids seem to, I come home here a lot of times, and I see the kids playing in there with their parents and around, or their moms, and they look like they're having a great time.
And I got to tell you, everybody at home, most of you know that Bob actually is a resident of Limerick. And as he just said, a lot of times, just about every day, I drive past this park. And at the end of a long day, you're driving past, and I'm sure Bob, like Bob just said, you come past here, this park is filled with young families and kids. And that's the best part of actually redoing this park. And again, none of this actually would have been possible if it hadn't been for Assemblyman Barra and Dean Skelos with regards to getting us this funding. So again, like I said, for everybody at home, make sure that you know where the park is. It's in the northeast section of Limerick. It's on the corner of Remsen and Peninsula. And Assemblyman, I think we're going to move to our next section. But again, before we leave here, again, let me just thank you for everything that you've done for this park.
Great work with you and the board. And, like I said, it's all about quality of life, and if we see something that's not doing too well, like a park, we do it for the kids of the village, and that's the name of the game.
Thank you. And let's move on to our next location.
Sounds good.
We're at the Doughboy Monument here in Limerick, right across from the Limerick train station. And about 3 months before Memorial Day, Assemblyman, a resident by the name of Hank Spiker came up to me and informed me that there was no monument down here at Monument Park for the Korean War veterans. And the new administration under Trustee Alan Beach actually led a movement to actually refurbish the Doughboy Monument and the park itself. At that time, the VFW was very active in that campaign, and one of the main purposes of the campaign was to actually make sure that a new monument for the Korean War veterans was actually installed. Along the way, we needed the necessary funding, and the VFW veterans, along with Trustee Beach, went to your office, spoke to you, and as you always have, you said that I'll get you the funding. Your office, along with Dean Skelos' office, again came through for funding, which resulted in this park being refurbished. And what happened was there was electrical lighting put throughout the Memorial Park, as you can see, along the pathway, and also all of the monuments are now illuminated at night,
Right.
along with flag poles and the flags for the six different branches of the armed services, and most importantly, the new wartime monument for the Korean War veterans were installed on Memorial Day. And I know this was actually very important to you. You have a very close relationship with all the veterans in your district.
Right.
And I did want to just point out one thing. Along with Senator Skelos and Assemblyman Barr, the funding for this program was also, there was a private donation by one individual who wanted to remain anonymous, but I did want to take this opportunity to thank him. But Assemblyman Barr, again, this project wouldn't have happened without your help, and
Well,
you know.
thank you. I mean, Senator Skelos and I, of course, have a great working relationship. We have frequent meetings where we discuss projects and what we can do to try to help. But the Korean monument here, it's often called the Forgotten War, and there was no monument, so
Yes.
that exacerbated the problem, to say the least. But I think that it's so great now that we have this to honor everyone that served, in from Lynbrook, and it's a beautiful place. And to come here right now, kind of like at dusk, it's just it's really it's a great thing to see. It's beautiful, and they everyone who have served should be honored. That's the least we can do for people that fought to preserve liberty
And
in our country.
I gotta tell you, Assemblyman, just because of your help and also the private donation that was made, finally we have a monument park down here that's befitting of the veterans that we look
Right.
to honor. And it's, again, it was a great job on behalf of
Sure.
you and your
It's
office.
great, and people should come down here, right at the the train station, and take a look, read some of the names. It's probably a lot of the names you'll still recognize today. Have families still living here in Lynbrook, and World War II monument, of course. It's quite a place.
And as you can see, a lot of the residents are just coming off the trains right now.
Right.
So you get the residents see this park every day as they go in and to and from work. And again, it's a good testament to Lynbrook and the facilities that we have
Yeah.
here.
Lynbrook never forgets.
We're gonna move on to our last stop, and that's over at Grice Park. So.
Sounds good.
Hello again. We actually have moved down to Grice Park, and we're standing on the infield of Lynbrook's Little League Diamond. And as you can see, it is a beautiful field. It was built about 3 years ago under Mayor Scarpato. And on our way over here, me and Assemblyman Barrow were just marveling at this park. And it has to be, Bob, one of the probably the best park, and this is coming from a biased person, but the best park probably in Nassau County for any village. I mean, it's amazing the strides that it's taken in the last 10 years.
Well, you can't. You have everything here. You have a state-of-the-art Little League field. You have a great roller hockey rink, basketball courts, brand new, state-of-the-art again, a swimming pool, lighted field over there for softball, another diamond right here being refurbished, and soccer going on, and every other sport you can think of practically. Bocce ball, right?
And I got to
Good
tell you,
area.
this diamond itself, and again, your footprints and your fingerprints are all over this park, along with Senator Skelos. This diamond that we're standing on was actually constructed again with state funding that was secured by Assemblyman Barra and Senator Skelos. How much did your
It's
office?
about, I think, $235,000 when the state came in.
Yeah, and every penny of it went into it because it is an absolute beautiful field. And I just would like to point out, actually, in left center out there, left center, there is a banner that is hung every single year by the Little League that just shows their appreciation to both Senator Skelos and to Assemblyman Bob Barr for everything that they've done actually here creating this field. But we're going to actually take a walk over. As Assemblyman Barr said, the hockey rink is right over here. And again, when that hockey rink was constructed, it was Assemblyman Barra and Senator Skelos that made sure that the playing surface was actually laid. And we're going to take a quick walk over to the brand new basketball courts and just take a quick look at them. And before we leave the baseball diamond, you mentioned about the soccer field that's at Grice Park, but another soccer field here in Lynbrook is the soccer field over on Ocean Avenue and Lakeview
Right.
Avenue. And I would be remiss in not pointing out that we just actually rehabilitated that soccer field. And the
Very
money that was done by the rehabilitation was done through the village. But you secured 2 grants for the East Rockaway Limbrook Soccer Club,
right.
and they're going to use that money to refurbish. To make further improvements of that
Sure.
soccer field. So anybody that's going past the Ocean Avenue soccer field, you're going to see vast improvements of that field. You've already seen it in the past 6 months, but you're going to see even more improvements. And again, that's because of money secured by this man. So why don't we take a walk over to the basketball
That's
courts?
good. But where this is like the Yankee Stadium for Limerick
It
Little
absolutely
Leaguers,
is.
it's beautiful. I just, we're too old to play now.
Well, I got to tell you, but before we actually started taping, Assemblyman Barra was telling me about the time when he was 16. He was playing on this field when he was growing up, and how he actually, the longest ball he ever hit, actually hit that light pole out there beyond the left field wall. And unfortunately, as he ends the story, he'll tell you that the umpire actually called it foul, and it never actually counted.
No, and I think I took the strike three the next pitch, so it was great.
Why don't we head on over to the basketball courts?
You got it.
Bob, we just walked over to Grice Park's newest facility here, and that is the basketball courts. And the name on those basketball courts is a plaque actually hanging on the other side of that fence, and that plaque reads Bob Barra Basketball Courts. And I have to tell you, if there was ever a deserving name for these courts, it is the Bob Barra Basketball Courts. And I had retold the story at the dedication ceremony, but just for people at home that didn't know about that, you know, basketball courts actually left Grice Park about 6 years ago when the pool was constructed, and people have been asking for basketball courts ever since then. Former Mayor Scarpato, about a year and a half ago, wanted to rebuild the basketball courts down here at Grice, and he went to Assemblyman Barra's office and told him about the project. And Assemblyman Barra, everything that I know, didn't ask questions about, what's the project about. He heard the basketball courts. He didn't say, I'll try to get it, or, I'll try to get portions of it. What Bob said was, I'll get you the funding, and that's exactly what you did. And $100,000 later, after that amount of money that you secured, we have built these courts, and I have to tell you, they look fantastic. They're actually at the south end of the Grice Park. They're right across from the newest Little League baseball field that was just regraded again with grant money secured by Assemblyman Barra. But why don't we just take a walk up here, Bob?
Absolutely.
And, again, the courts themselves were constructed a little bit less than a month ago, a month and a half ago. But I got to tell you, they are the highest of quality of basketball courts. We're going to have an adult and children's league here. But, I wasn't present for it. But why don't you tell me a little bit about how this project actually came about to you?
Well, Mayor Scarpato was very distraught that although there's a beautiful swimming pool here and pools and a water park, that the basketball program, which was a great program, I never played a second of basketball, organized basketball in my life. That's why it's ironic that these courts, but are named after me. But he was distraught that the league went down and wasn't resurrected. So he came to me and said, "Is there anything you can do?" And it took a while to accumulate this funding, but we wanted the league to be back because Limerick has a tradition of having great basketball players and excellent teams, and it's great, and it keeps kids off the street. They can come and play basketball, and we have basketball, hockey, baseball, softball, swimming. It's just the premier park. I don't know of any park, I've said it before, that has as much in such a small area. But as you see, the state of the art,
Rims?
rims and baskets and backboards, and it really looks good. You have to come down and see it. It's one thing it's missing, though.
And what's that?
It's lights. We're going to try to get some lights in here shortly, and we're also going to try to maybe utilize those other two fields. Maybe we can get some lights in there also, so that we could utilize this diamond and the far diamond near fire headquarters, and make this park where you could play any and all times till 10 o'clock at night on the weekends or whatever, and so it's totally used. So nobody is like, I'm hearing from like leagues that they're fighting for field space, and it's because there's light, there's darkness issues, and that side of the field is dark. So if we can light that, I think that some of the teams may be able to hold practices more frequently, and more kids and more teams, more kids will be able to join the leagues. They won't get shut out. Um, but we've got to have the governor to cooperate with us. But I'm, I think he will in the end.
Well, I have to tell you, first off, the courts themselves, they look fantastic. And as I was saying, a lot of that responsibility falls to Superintendent Phil Healy, who's done a great job supervising this. But this is just another part of the puzzle of completing the best recreational facilities here in Limbrook. And as I had said throughout this program, a lot of that falls at the footsteps of you, Assemblyman Barra, for everything that
Yeah,
you've done.
thanks.
And just on the good news, when Assemblyman Barra was talking about the lights, we had a conversation right before we started taping. That was going to be through state money. So everybody.
Yeah. We don't want to like let people think we spend money frivolously. We really don't. I mean, we look at things for the public good, and projects that kids can use or adults could use, like maybe it's something for a library or something for the schools with computers. Their money spent on quality of life,
Right.
quality of life, educational issues. That's what we look to do. We're not building bridges to nowhere. We're doing this for our kids, because if we take care of the kids will take care of the future for us. And we want our kids to stay here and enjoy Limbrook like you and I did.
And I have to tell you, we actually enjoy a very good working relationship. And between our two offices, John Giordano works very closely with your head of staff, Barbara DeGrace, and with yourself. And they have worked and cooperated on so many grant opportunities that have resulted in state funding coming back into Limbrook, which
Right.
is very so important to the Limbrook resident, trying to get these facilities, have the top-notch facilities, but at the same time not having their village taxes increase for this to happen. And Assemblyman Barra and Senator Skelos, they've done a fantastic job for the residents of Limbrook. So on behalf of myself
Well,
as mayor and as a
thank you.
resident, thank you very
You've been a
much.
great partner, and I have a great guy with Senator Skelos to work with, and we just people spend enough money, give enough money in taxes to the state, they should get something back, and this is part of it.
Absolutely. And I just want to thank you for coming and being our guest
My
here on the
pleasure.
Mayor's
Thank you.
Report.
My pleasure.
And I want to thank everybody at home for taking the time to learn about all the great things that are happening in Limbrook. So till next time, it's Mayor Brian Curran, and thank you for watching.